All right, so let's go into it. I added this. If you want to establish some health goals, then this is a great way to do it, okay? And this could mean I want to drink 6 glasses of water a day, because I'm at 2 now. It could be that I'm going to go to 2 fitness classes a week. I'm going to, again, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to eat fresh vegetables, because I'm only getting lettuce on my burger. So you decide. Okay, now what is the bioimpedance analysis and why do I use this technology? So that little device is $7,500, okay? It's an electrical impedance. So if I'm sending a current through water versus bone versus muscle versus tissue, it's gonna penetrate at different speeds, right? Hertz. So I like this technology better than a dunk tank. First of all, it's really hard to get you guys in a dunk tank on Saturday morning. I'm so nice, you're gonna learn that. But also this is more accurate, okay? I'm not really interested in how you look on the outside, right? It's about cellular health. And you'll hear me talking about that. So this is a chart where we did the initial test, so you can take your numbers and fill this in, and then with the final test, again, you can do that as well, okay? If you want to kind of assess side by side. So what does this all mean? So when people see me in the clinic, the test is the biomarkers of health. It's a snapshot of where you are now, okay? So let's go over this. So this is a cell, okay? This is an example of a muscle cell. If you're hydrated, it's going to be really plump, like a grape, right? You want your wine grapes plump. But when you're dehydrated, it's like a raisin, okay? I want to make sure that you have more water inside the cell. That way, you're actually flushing out the toxins into the bloodstream that's going to then continue to go out, sweat, urine, et cetera, okay? Making sure that the lymphatic system is moving, but more importantly, this process. So when you get your results, you have a phase angle. Phase angle is general overall health. So it's going to talk about the cell membrane integrity. So like, is the muscle wall too tight? Think of the heart, right? You don't want the pericardium too tight, and you don't want it too loose. So what's the integrity of that cell membrane wall? This is for every cell in the body. And then overall cellular health and function. So the phase angle, think of it as a general, like, if you're on the Wii and it gives you that age, think of it as that. Number 2, intracellular water. Again, you have more water inside the cell? We hope so. That tells me you're hydrated at the cellular level. If you are not hydrated, then it's going to recommend, okay, we need to improve your nutrition. We need to improve your mitochondrial function. And of course, again, improve your cellular health. Now, what can you do for it? Take your essential fatty acids. They're called essential for a reason. We can get them through our foods, but at this point, I would probably say most of us need to supplement it. Liquid, cod oil, EPA, DHA, et cetera. So you get to taste some of that stuff from one of our sponsors, Nordic Naturals, on Saturday. So what about extracellular? If you have too much water outside the cell, again, it could have been from smoking or too much coffee or medication that's dried you out, Bikram yoga. Then what you're going to need to do, again, essential fatty acids, multivitamin, definitely a detox, and we'll talk about that on April 12th with Jennifer Brewer, and then electrolytes. And I'm going to go into electrolytes in a little bit. So fat mass, if you are not in range for height, weight, proportionate for fat mass specifically, not weight, extra fat cells, then you're going to want to do more of CLAs and body comp. So again, we don't talk about weight in this program. People do lose fat because they're moving their bodies more. Also, they're going through a cleanse. But I'm just going to say, and I'll go over this in a minute, but carbs, fruit, sugar, and alcohol all turn in at the base level of sugar, right? So then you have your pancreas secreting insulin to regulate your blood sugar. It's just an overload. It's how much input, how much output. Of course, you're going to move your body. But so what we want to look at is, and sugar, right? So cauliflower and broccoli are way more high in carbs than spinach or cucumbers, right? So it's not every vegetable's, if you're targeting fat mass, okay? Okay. So lean body mass. So some people actually want to gain muscle, right? So what are you going to do? You're going to do a really good, clean protein source. Usually when you eat some filet mignon or steak, you're absorbing, what, about 76% when you're chewing it, and absorbing the nutrients. When you do a protein powder, you can get up to 96% absorption. You're not using digestifier. So again, nice, and again, based on your hypoallergenic, it could be protein hemp, could be whey, could be rice. A lot of us don't want too much soy, because there's just a lot of soy and other things. Okay, so total body water versus lean body mass, of course, that's just a ratio on the graphs, which reflects hydration. But let's move on to the next slide. Yeah.
How much does that change over like short periods of time? Like say you just completed decompress or exercise.
Yep. It's in the. I'm getting there. I love it. I love it. You're so good. So this is just a basic log. Again, I love MyFitnessPal. If it's a free app. So if you like to write though, you could print this out and be tracking what you do. I always say if you can track for 3 to 7 days, you'll have a real sense of what you're doing, okay? So what does that mean? The Mediterranean diet is a low glycemic, alkaline, low inflammation diet, okay? And a lot of functional medical doctors recommend doing a Mediterranean diet because you get your oils and et cetera. But what I would say about that, what I like about it is it teaches you that every day you should be getting a certain amount of nuts and seeds, certain amount of oils, et cetera. And are we getting that every day? I'm not. Oops. I'm not getting that all day. So I might get it 4 out of the 7 days. So again, where are you on that continuum? So let me give you an example. So this is the 7-day log. I gave you some stats to see where you are on the spectrum of the recommended ones. It's kind of good to know. So this is the diagnostic criteria for metabolic syndrome, chronic disease, body comp for women. Now, this is what I want to show you. So throughout the day, are you getting good source of protein? Medical food just means you can think of it as a protein powder. And you don't have to do a protein powder. Concentrated protein, which is lean. Are you getting legumes? Are you getting 0 to 1 servings of dairy? Unless you are at least 2,400 calories a day. And I give you those numbers in your BIA results, where you are. Are you getting nuts and seeds? Are you getting vegetable 1, vegetable 2 categories? And you'll see it on the list are the starchy vegetables, right? The yummy sweet yams, the ones we love. And then fruits, 2 categories, 2 servings a day, 1 serving of grain, and then 4 to 6 servings of oil, plus your essential fatty acid supplement usually. And that could be liquid. So this is just an outline of a base to make it real simple. And at the bottom here is if you want to change up and modify certain things. I'm not saying that you need to follow this. It's just a really good base. When people follow this, they detoxify, especially if you add some other stuff, but they get to appropriate height and weight. My patients on this kind of thing lose 1 pound a week if they have fat mass to lose. So they feel like they're nourished and fed. They're not overeating. So again, this is just a base of the Mediterranean diet that I really like because it is low inflammation, low acidic, and low glycemic. So on your chart, you'll look at your BMR from the BIA. You're going to put that number in. And then what you could do is you could decide on where you are at if you need to change as far as weight loss. And then you just multiply it. This chart makes it really easy. And of course, you can't really see it here, but you're like, well, how much protein should I be doing? And how many vegetables should I be doing? So this kind of gives you an example of how much. 1 grapefruit, 15 grapes, how many almonds. So this is a reference.
So LeTa, since my last name starts with an S, I think I only got 1 page, and this is what's going to be in it.
So we're going to send you a link to this document. We found that the email wasn't working.
Just wanted to double check that this is exactly what
Yeah. Okay, so then you get your normal references here. Gave you your BMIs. So this is going to tell you exactly how to read your numbers. on your PDF so you can see it, okay? So we'll make sure that we send this out tomorrow in the email, okay? So I just wanted to go over that. Leave?
What's like normal or whatever for BMI for women, say over 40?
Well, so you're going to look at the chart based on your height
Yeah.
and your weight, and then it will tell you.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know the number off my head. It's a large chart.
Like a percentage of fat or whatever.
Well, for fat, you want to be under the BMI. You want 25. So if you're at 25 or above, they call it obesity, right? And then there's morbid obesity. Yeah.
Overweight, over 25.
Yeah. It's you know. Yeah. 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 Okay. Any questions on that? You guys are so quiet. All right. Let's get into this. So I wanted to talk a little bit about nutrition because you guys are working out a lot right now. And a lot of you guys have questions around what am I supposed to be doing? So the main things are what? Carbohydrate consumption. Again, that's also yams and broccoli and stuff, making sure you're getting those collard greens. Adequate fluid intake, and then electrolyte balance. And then, of course, women have to be concerned with the mineral balance. Okay? So let's talk about water. So in blood, water is going to transport glucose, oxygen, and fats to the muscles that you're working. Okay? And then it's going to carry any byproduct out through, you guys sore, you know that lactic acid? Okay. It's going to take it and push it out as long as you're drinking water, though. You got to drink the water. The foam rolling won't be enough. Also, you guys know urine, water is going to eliminate the waste product. In sweat, you're going to sweat it out through the skin. That's water. Saliva, gastric secretions, water is going to help digest the food, thank God. And then throughout the body, water is going to lubricate your joints. When we're doing this motion, we're lubricating the joints. The water is actually what's going to help. Okay? And then, of course, it cushions the organs and the tissues. So we are made up of a lot of water. Okay? Lot of, just as much as the earth is made up of a lot of water. So to answer your question, how much water do we need? Because you guys are working out a lot. And you notice sometimes when the water's really hot, the weather's really hot, you're gonna be sweating more, right? So what is it, how many? 83.2 fluid ounces a day just to replace what you're losing. Okay? So that doesn't take into account if you're drinking coffee, which is a diuretic, sugar, medication. Medication is pure heat from a Chinese medical perspective. It's liver fire. So therefore, you're going to have to take in 2 to 3 quarts just to get through, and then extra. So if you're working out and it's hot out, I would say you're going to definitely need more water. So how do you get this water in? So if you're working out with us, then you want to start in a hydrated state. Because you know, if you show up and you're already dehydrated, a lot of people can get the frontal headache, and then on the continuum, it goes into the migraine, right? You want to maintain that hydration and then rehydrate before the next practice. So I am not very good at gulping while I exercise, but I do like to have a water bottle and sip and just kind of keep it moist. Again, that's up to you. If you start in a really hydrated state, it's not going to be too bad if it's a 60-minute workout, okay?
For starting in a hydrated state, my question is, could I drink a whole bunch of water the night before?
Yeah.
Since I'm exercising in the morning?
Yes.
Is that too late?
No, it's not. So it's not at all. So this is what I want. You guys don't have to do this, but you could weigh yourself. Just do this once, by the way. Weigh yourself once before and after the workout. Each pound loss is equal to 1 pint of fluid lost. So after the workout, replace the weight you have lost with the proper amount of fluid, just to see. If you have not regained the weight you lost during the workout within 24 hours, you are not adequately hydrated, right? So this is just kind of a biomarker that you can do on your own, okay? And then, of course, if you're going to do a half marathon or 2 consecutive days, or the people that ran She Is Beautiful this morning, it's like you're going to have to drink more than that. So this is just going to tell you if you're actually replacing enough water from the stuff you're losing. You're dehydrated, is that what you said? I don't know if a lot of you are going to have this issue, but I wanted to make note that a 5 to 10 pound weight loss in 1 week can be a sign of chronic dehydration unless you're on a ketogenic diet, okay? So usually when you get into a ketogenic diet, which just means you're in ketosis, then of course you're going to lose that water weight because you need to get into ketosis. But if you are not drinking enough, first you're going to have dark yellow smelling urine, okay? Now remember, if you're taking a lot of B vitamins, you guys have seen your urine become bright yellow, so that's different. That's a different, and it won't smell as much as being dehydrated. The second thing is decreased frequency of urination. So if you normally are peeing a lot and you're not, hello. Rapid resting heart rate. So if you guys are using Sleep Cycle as an app, you can check it, or you can just check your resting heart rate right when you wake up and notice if it's rapid. And then prolonged muscle soreness, okay? Not enough water. So self-assess yourself. Don't overlook food as water, right? So lettuce, tomatoes, oranges, celery, kiwi, tangerines, these items have a lot of water in them. So this is a spectrum on body weight percentage loss with symptoms with water for dehydration, okay? So first, you become thirsty. I'm clearly thirsty from the run this morning. Who else ran 6 miles this morning? Yeah, good job, guys. Okay, then you're gonna have stronger thirst, discomfort, and loss of appetite. You get to a point where you're actually not even hungry, right? A false sign of hunger could also be that you're thirsty. Have you guys experienced that before? Where you drink water and then you're like, oh, I'm actually not hungry. So it goes into kidney failure, kidney failure. So my first week of school in Chinese medical school, my teacher told us a story of this Chinese woman, well, because they were in China, on a parade, on a float, and she was like the queen or princess or something, and she was on this float in the heat in China for like 8 hours, and she literally died in the chair because she sweat so much she dehydrated. She had kidney failure. 1 day. Yeah. There's also the other spectrum, not to be like extreme, is you can overhydrate. You guys know that, right? So again, it's pay attention and listen to your body. Okay, proper hydration. 14 to 22 usually ounces 2 hours prior. Now, you guys that are getting up at 6 a.m., this might not happen, okay? And this depends on the day. If you're getting up, if you're working out in the afternoon at 6 p.m., of course. 9:15, maybe, okay? If you're getting up at 7. 6 to 12 ounces. I would say 3 to 6 ounces with boot camp. I'm small, and I could feel it kind of swishing around when I'm doing a burpee. So you, again, self-assess. Drink on a schedule rather than relying on thirst. If you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated, technically, from a clinical standpoint. So electrolytes. You guys are losing a lot when you're working out, okay? So I want to go over why they're important. So first of all, they're a fundamental role in the regulation of water distribution. We call it the Sanjiao. You think of it as fluid metabolism, electrolytes, okay? Any disturbance in the electrolytes, they obviously going to interfere with performance, especially if you're working out for more than 1.5 hours to 2 hours. We have to replenish them. Electrolytes are all equal, of course. Sodium has a huge influence, and potassium, chloride, magnesium, muscle contraction, nerve conduction, huge. So I'm going to talk about, I actually have a really cool electrolyte drink that you can make at home that I'll send out. So let's talk about sodium first. I don't want to bore you too much. Some of you might know this stuff. Some of you maybe never have thought about this. Am I in your way, AJ? So sodium helps maintain what? Proper fluid with the water in the cells, okay? You guys know about sodium? It's also involved in nerve conduction, cellular metabolism, the maintenance of blood volume and pressure. So low blood sugar, low blood pressure for some of the women, it's going to be important to get the sodium. So 1 pound of sweat is 400 to 700 milligrams of sodium. So you know when you sweat and you come home and the dog licks you? It's the sodium. Over the course of 2 to 3 hours, look at almost 5,600 milligrams of sodium, okay? When my patients have a headache, you can just drink some water with some salt and the headache will go away like in 20 to 30 seconds because you need to replenish. So you're looking at around 1,000 milligrams per day, okay? So 1 teaspoon of salt is 2,300, so you should be able to be okay, okay? If you're worried about high blood pressure, then come talk to me, okay? Not all salt's created equal, and you should be doing celery juice anyway. So potassium, next one after sodium. So this is, again, gonna also help maintain normal water balance and also gonna play a role in keeping you hydrated. So you want about 3,500 milligrams per day. Again, we can get this from our food, and I'll talk about that in a minute. You don't have to do supplements. So 85 to 105 can be lost in 1 pound of sweat. So if you feel like you're depleted, you're gonna have impaired nerve conduction, so it's gonna allow you to move slower. I find that when I work out a lot, I'll start to move slower. I've drained too many minerals and electrolytes. Muscle weakness, and then cardiac rhythm abnormals. I've never seen anyone with that in my time, but it could happen. Because you know the heart is conducting electricity, right? So you need those minerals. Those trace minerals are huge. So which foods can we eat? I'm gonna say I'm not a big into cereals or breads and gluten, but I did want to put, you know, and I'm also not a big into dairy either. But for those of you that are doing those things, I wanted to make sure that you understand which are high in potassium, okay? I'd rather you have some nuts and seeds. So chloride, so it's usually going to be in the form of table salt, okay? If you're eating processed foods, and I'm hoping that you're going to start to eat less processed foods, you're already getting tons of salt, so you don't need to add any. For those that are eating a very whole foods diet, you can flavor it a little bit after you've tasted it. Magnesium, okay, this is such a big one. It goes right into the muscle cell. So when you are really sore, we always tell people to do magnesium at night, and most distribution, like companies, put it with calcium because it's easier to absorb, okay? So you can get these in, I do a little bit of cocoa powder in my smoothie if it's too green sometimes. Walnuts are great. They are shaped like a brain. They're a brain tonic. Cashews, spinach, of course. Try to keep down on the pine nuts if you can, but almonds, soak them, start the digestive process. Again, when you go to the cooking classes, when we start to have the food, actual food lectures, we'll go into that. Yes.
I was going to let Epsom salt, and recently it's got a tub of magnesium for like soaking in.
Yeah.
Is that
It's awesome.
for muscle?
It's gonna, as soon as you get in that hot water, your pores are gonna open.
And then it says rinse it off after in case like toxins come out.
Yep. Yeah. I would do a cold flush after.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get that lymphatic system going to get it off. Yeah. Okay. Oops. Did I go over that? All right. So again, 6 to 9 servings per day. So if you're doing whole grains, I would do 1 serving a day. So it's like 1 carb, 1 slice of bread. Tanya recommends the gluten-free bread at Companion, right? Okay. We're not bread pushers. These are the vegetables you can be doing. Notice the mustard greens, good to get a variety of flavors, so those are really bitter. The cruciferous vegetables. Oh, am I covering it? My body? Okay. Yeah. Collards, kale, bok choy, fruit. So this is what I want to say about food, because every paradigm has a different concept of food, right? So it depends on your goal, right? So if your goal is to get inflammation down and get all the acidity down because you're having acid reflux, that's going to be really different. If you're trying to lose weight, it's going to be different. If you want, I just want to stress that because, citrus fruits are great for this reason, but they're also astringent, right? So again, it just really depends on what your goal is. I want to stress that enough with food, okay?
I want to ask about acidic foods and inflammation
Mm-hmm.
for shoulder, for joint stuff.
Yes.
You had said tomatoes, isn't that pretty acidic?
It's very acidic. Yeah, in moderation.
Would you want to avoid that if you're looking at an inflamed?
Yes. Yeah, don't do any. Citrus, I'm not big into if you're having that. Yeah, it's too astringent. It's going to hold right in. Yeah.
Are there any other things to avoid as far as
You have a shoulder issue, is that what you said? Shoulder and knees. So first thing is bone broth. That's the first thing you're going to want to do is bone broth. You can, when you're cooking rice, instead of water, you do bone broth with the rice. You could, instead of, when you're steaming your vegetables or you're reheating your vegetables, don't use water, use bone broth, okay? You can buy bone broth or make bone broth. We're gonna have one health lecture. It's like actually more of a pop-up, not a Sunday, about bone broth, so you understand the benefits of it. But the idea is that the Chinese believe that the tendons and ligaments and the marrow from the bones that are like dissolving into this broth that's cooking over 2 to 3 days goes right to your own tendons and ligaments and fascia to rebuild, right? Plus, me personally, I'm a Chinese doctor, so there's specific herbs for the joints, specific herbs for the, every single, item that we have, whether it's muscle, tendon, ligament, etc. And then I do herbs specifically for the shoulder, for the knee. So, but there's specific foods. The Chinese believe that there's specific foods for the shoulder, right? They're a little loco, but it works. Okay. I want to move on. I'm going to send this to you, but I want to talk a little bit about carbs and energy production. So you do need carbs. You need your carbs for brain to function. Remember, this is not a no-carb society, okay? The only reason that people are all talking about carbs is that we're overeating them. That's all. They're not bad, right? And not all carbs are created equal, right? So you guys probably already know this. There's simple and complex carbs, right? So which kinds do we want to eat? Complex. Yeah, that's all, right? So we had Tanya Fleck last year, loved her, she's a naturopath. And so some of us started to get the B12 shots. And her protocol is that you could get 1 B12 shot a week for 4 weeks. And then you could see a difference. Why? B vitamins are really important, okay? So complex carbs. Glycemic index. You guys have probably heard this if you lived on the planet. Glycemic index. Not all foods are created equal. So if you want to try to choose some of the ones that are low glycemic, right? It's just about the overall load. So low glycemic, right? These are the things that you might want to consume 1 to 2 hours before a workout. I have things to say about that, but this is the standard, okay? Low glycemic snacks. I like to do just a couple scoops of powder. Every single person is different as far as some people are more sensitive to blood sugar and some people aren't. Oh, sorry. With the toleration, on how to tolerate glycemic food. So some of you might be sensitive to it or not. If you're not having a symptom, it's almost more dangerous, okay? So with gluten, you guys know how a lot of people are talking about how they're gluten sensitive? One of the biomarkers for being gluten sensitive or gluten intolerant is only elevated liver enzymes, okay? So I'm saying that is because it's almost amazing, and I'm grateful for the patients that have symptoms, because then you're forced to make changes, right? People that are lactose intolerant, it's they're not gonna drink dairy. They're not gonna drink milk, right? Same with gluten sensitivity. People that are having symptoms, it's you're blessed, because you're actually having symptoms. So I'm saying that to be dramatic, but again, not everyone has the same system. So what time is it? I want to have time for a little bit questions. What else? Substances in coffee and tea can interfere with iron absorption, okay? So where are you on the spectrum with iron, right? Do you include that in your diet? Do you eat out of iron skillet? Are you doing a multivitamin with iron? There's a lot of multivitamins for women with iron in them now because there's a lot of women that are anemic. So again, it's just the assessment of which foods can I eat that are iron rich? Do I need that? When's the last time you had some blood work done or genetic testing to take a look at that? Calcium, huge. As much as we do, in Qigong, we'll do a lot of bone stuff to build bone, but even just the balance. The reason I'm doing the balance exercises is why? Because I was telling you the other day at boot camp is that we lose bone density as women, and the number one cause of a woman over 80 in the United States is they'll lose their balance. And because of the bone density loss, they never get back out of that wheelchair. So we try to combat it with balance, coordination, and also making sure that we're getting our recommended calcium. Sources of calcium, yay, dark leafy greens, we love them. So you're gonna learn how to cook them, and they're actually gonna taste really good. You'll be surprised. All right, so I just want to stress that we will talk about food. This is not the food lecture. I want to stress that. This is really let's take a look at my health test. Where am I? You have to self-assess here. What are you eating? Okay. How do I feel after I work out? Am I getting the proper water? Am I getting electrolytes? Right? Maybe you don't know what to eat. Maybe you're not getting greens, right? Most of us kind of know the base of what to do, you know? I would recommend coming to the food lecture. I would recommend coming to the cooking classes. We have some really cool food pop-ups coming up. And we're calling them pop-ups because they're health classes that are not on Sundays, okay? Does anyone have any questions?